But let's get through to speak to someone else on this. Jonathan Portis, not only Professor of Economics and Public Policy at the School of Politics and Economics at King's College, also a Senior Fellow at UK in a Changing Europe. But also, Jonathan, one of your specialities, I know, is immigration and labour mobility. This has got to be a very positive day for both the EU and the UK on that front, if indeed it looks like we have got some deal on mobility.
Yes, absolutely. There will be a lot of hype around this summit, and we shouldn't exaggerate just how big the significance of these agreements is in economic terms. But psychologically, it is a big step towards a much more positive relationship with the EU. On youth mobility, we won't get, I think, the full details today. There are some quite tricky issues around, for example, what fees European Union origin students have to pay if they come to study at universities like mine, which is a matter of money rather than principle, but still a complicated one. But I think one thing that may come out of this is actually that the government and the political class here might realize that actually the sort of negative reaction that you correctly described from some politicians here, I think will probably not resonate with the majority of the public. Most people actually want to see pragmatic steps towards a closer EU-UK trading relationship. And if that includes youth mobility, they're actually pretty relaxed about that. So I think some of the, quite frankly, absurd reactions from politicians like Kemi Badenoch and the Eurosceptic press may leave the public as a whole quite cold.
Yeah. Jonathan, and this is the key point, and the key problem for the politicians trying to basically make the economic argument. Look, most of our viewers, I would suggest, in fact all of our viewers, are pretty economically savvy. They understand the ills of Brexit and they understand the benefits of Brexit as well, and are willing to move on from those arguments. But clearly there is a large part of the British population who don't feel actually that Brexit has gone far enough, and that is why they are voting for Nigel Farage. That is why Reform did so well in the odd national election, but mostly those regional elections quite recently. What is it that actual Nigel Farage is appealing to those people for a harder form of Brexit, rather than just concentrating on the pure economics, which looks like a slam dunk case for closer links with Europe?
Well, I don't think it is actually a harder form of Brexit. For example, on youth mobility, which will be portrayed in some quarters today as a return to free movement, even though, of course, as you know, and we all know, it's nothing of the sort. All the polls suggest there's a huge, overwhelming majority of the British people are entirely relaxed about that, including even a large proportion of Reform voters. And I think, actually, if you want to know what Reform voters are reacting against, you only have to look at the fact that similar parties in continental Europe, inside the EU, are also doing extremely well. Look at Marine Le Pen's party in France. So to my mind, it's not so much about Brexit. It is about a feeling that our economies are not performing as well as they should do. That some parts of our countries have been left behind by economic progress, and other political issues which go much wider than Brexit. And I think for most people actually here in the UK, Brexit is something of yesterday's issue. The question really is, how is this government going to improve the economy for everybody, not just people at the upper end of the income scale? And how is it going to deliver better quality public services? And that really, I think, is why the government wants to concentrate on improving the economic relationship with the EU, because if you want to deliver growth and improve public services, today's deal will certainly not do it on its own, but it's one part of the one necessary part of the recipe.